but the man does not make it easy for even the most generous of biographers to portray him in a warm and sympathetic light. In 2022, I stayed at a hotel in Paris that he and Wallace used to frequent, and, unable to sleep, wondered what the chances were of a spectral visit from an outraged Edward, chastising me for his presentation in these books. Had I been taken to task by his apparition, I hope that I should have had the presence of mind, shortly before telephoning the concierge and asking for bell, book and candle, to reply that nothing I've said about him in the trilogy is based on anything other than meticulously documented fact, usually, and most damningly, his own entitled words. Unlike fine wine, he does not improve with age. If the Duke supplies much of Power and Glory's high drama, and at times comic relief, it is his brother's story that constitutes its tragic arc. George VI was a monarch who never wanted the responsibility of the role, and it is testament to his belief in duty that he committed himself to its onerous burdens, even as it became increasingly clear that the strain was having a terminal effect upon his health. I have attempted to present the monarch as a rounded character, neither sanctifying him nor belittling him, but I hope that my portrayal of him as someone whose greatest strengths were domestic, rather than regal, is one that firmly anchors the book as a deeply human story. If the book has a heroine, however, it can only be the future Elizabeth II. She made only fleeting appearances in The Crowning Crisis and The Windsors at War, but I'm finally able to give her the full measure that she deserves, bringing her to life in both private and public spheres. If my first book was a ticking clock suspense thriller, set against the backdrop of something thought constitutionally unprecedented, and the second a wartime saga that explored a dysfunctional, squabbling family tested to its limits, so this one too has a simple story at its heart. It is an account of a close and loving father and daughter relationship, albeit one where the father is dying, and the daughter is facing upheaval and change on an unimaginable scale. Both of my earlier books were intended, to a large extent, as black comedies of manners. Power and Glory is different. While writing about the Duke of Windsor's misdemeanours never ceased to amuse or shock me, I was struck by how often I would attempt to finish chapters of his book and be unable to type because I was weeping so copiously. Even now, certain lines, I felt that I had lost something very precious. My whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service, still have a Pavlovian effect upon me. I was writing Power and Glory when I learnt of the Queen's death on 8th of September 2022, and like everyone else in Britain, I felt as if one of the aspects of my life that had been forever constant was removed from me. Yet amid the millions of words written about her in the subsequent days by sources sympathetic, hostile or otherwise, there is one central point universally acknowledged. In both her remarkable longevity and her lifelong dedication to service, she was a monarch sans pareil. It is therefore appropriate that Power and Glory should depict the end of one era, and of one Britain, and the birth of a new one. This book may be a tragedy, and a requiem for a lost nation, but is also a paean of praise to the woman who redefined the country in her image. It may or may not come as a surprise to my readers to learn that I am not a monarchist. Unlike some of my historian peers, I've always attempted to look at the royal family with clinical detachment, rather than from the perspective of a fully paid-up admirer of what strikes me as a deeply flawed and anachronistic institution. Certainly, the ludicrous indulgence offered to the Duke of Windsor, a man who should have gone to prison during World War II for treason, and ideally remained there, shows the worst aspects of the firm and the noblesse oblige offered to its members, regardless of their activities. Yet the virtues they exemplified at their best were real too: courage, generosity, compassion, and a dedication to serving their country rather than themselves. When I finished writing this book, I had to restrain an urge to leap onto a table and shout, "God save the Queen!" If I am a Republican, I am a very, very flawed one indeed. But if this conclusion to the trilogy engenders a similar urge in a single reader, I will proudly consider my duties as a historian and biographer fulfilled. Alexander Larman, Oxford, June 2023.